Partners aren't meant to complete us and to make our lives whole in every single way, but really just to support us, love us, and see us through that healing that we have to do on our own. We see someone's potential more than who they actually are in the moment. I don't deal with drama in my life, and I'm not going to compromise that and my inner peace just for someone who doesn't respect me. Knowing in each moment that you are full and capable and beautiful. And
hello, my fellow Earth Angels. Thank you so much for being here and joining me today. I wanted to dive into some, I guess, spiritual or conscious, non-toxic relationship advice because I get so many DMs every single day on very specific scenarios that someone may be having with their partner or with their friend, and I wanted to put everything together in a video. Grab a snack. I think this will be a fun video to film. My very first thing that I want to say is if you're looking for a partner right now, if you're looking for someone to sweep you off your feet and find your perfect person, just stop and prioritize spending time with yourself and loving yourself in every single way possible. Make love to yourself, do shadow work, fill up your cup, get excited about life, be sensual with life, flirt with life from the very beginning of your day, and really cultivate an inner space that feels enchanting, where you're just so excited to exist and to create and to learn and to grow and commit to yourself like you never have before. I promise you, you will become a magnet, and also learning to take accountability and doing that shadow work will allow you to enter into a partnership feeling really clear and not having intense karmic ties to other people or being extremely attached to outcomes. So that's just a quick number one tip is if you're looking to be in a relationship, just stop and look to cultivate a deeper relationship with yourself and make your internal landscape feel so full and wondrous that you're not even occupied thinking about someone else. I think that a lot of times we use this searching for a partner as a way to distract ourselves, and I definitely think therapy can be a huge game changer. Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp. If there's something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals, such as an inability to be alone, BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with a licensed professional therapist. It's not a crisis line, it's not self-help, it's professional counseling done securely online. There's a broad range of expertise in BetterHelp's counseling network that may not already be available to you in your area, which is great because this service is available to clients worldwide, and you can log into your account anytime and send a message to your counselor. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses, plus you can schedule a video or phone call weekly, and you don't have to worry about sitting in uncomfortable waiting rooms. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, plus financial aid is available. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, which is why they make it free and easy to change your counselor if needed. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today, so visit betterhelp.com, that's better H-E-L-P, to join the over 1 million people who are taking charge of their mental health with the help of a licensed professional. And if you use my special link down below, you will get 10% off of your first month at betterhelp.com. It's really easy to sign up and log in. They ask you a few basic questions, and you can begin to find a therapist that works for you. They could help you with whatever you're navigating right now in terms of partnerships. I just moved my mic on here because it's a little windy, so sorry if the audio changed, but thank you again to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. And the first thing I wanted to dive into was expectations in partnerships. Something I see all the time is when someone starts talking to someone else, they immediately project all of these fantasies and ideas of what they could be together onto the situation, even if they've hung out only a few times, because they're so excited about what could be, even if that's not actually what's present. And what that can do a lot of the times is force you into a partnership unknowingly where there isn't actually chemistry or magic or fireworks, and you might just find yourself in a partnership and realize, wait, this isn't anything that I actually want, because I was just idealizing it in my head the whole time and forcing my own narrative and projecting my fantasies onto the situation rather than just seeing it as it was, or seeing that they're not emotionally available right now or things like that. If you know that you're worthy of more and want more, but you're settling for someone because that's what's in front of you and you don't want to be alone, it's cutting off all other energetic ties and potential to share a true potent love with someone else, and is also communicating to the universe that you're settling, like you're okay with what you're getting, you're okay with these crumbs, when really what you want is a full feast, and you are worthy of that feast, but it can take
some time alone and saying no to those connections that aren't in resonance. In my experience, every time I have stopped hooking up with people or just stopped feeding into relationships and partnerships where I wasn't being fully met where I wanted to be, that is always when I met my person or my partner in, these certain times of my life, when I really made space for the entrance of someone who treated me the way I wanted to be treated and met me where I wanted to be met. And that can be hard because it's fun to hook up with people, but it's definitely worth it if you know that you're seeking something more. And I kind of think, in a way, you should never really be worried about losing someone, because if you do lose someone or you end up breaking up, it's just a sign that something wasn't fully aligning. And what can you really do in that situation? When I look back into the times when I've been heartbroken, I just ask myself, like, what can I really do? I'm not going to force this love to work out. There was obviously something that didn't feel fully in place for them. And so I'm going to take the lesson here and find the miracle here and move on and move forward and fill up my cup so fully and be non-attached, because my first love in high school, I really felt so heartbroken, and I knew things weren't working out. I knew I wasn't being met where I wanted to be spiritually or romantically, emotionally. They just weren't emotionally open. And it was like a high school relationship that started in high school and then lasted until after. And I kept getting back together with them, but we both knew how toxic it was and how wrong it was. But I did it out of comfort, and that was just such a mistake, because we would have saved each other so much time and growth and trauma if we had just walked away when we knew it wasn't in resonance. And that's something that I do immediately now. I'm like, okay, this obviously isn't working for me or for you, so I am going to bow down and walk away and take the miracle. At the end of the day, I'm liberating us both even more by doing that. And also, something that can be really helpful to prevent prolonged heartbreak and turmoil in relationships is speaking your expectations constantly. And I don't mean that like, I expect this, and this, but what are you looking for? What can you give? Especially initially, when you first start hooking up with someone, be so clear. You're allowed to be clear and just discuss openly, hey, I'm looking for more than a hookup, or I'm not in the space right now to be emotionally vulnerable with someone new. Those things are completely valid to say. And I think that things become toxic and manipulative when someone isn't communicating that, or neither of you are communicating that, and you're just kind of getting hurt. It's like, you have to really know what the other person has the space for in their life. I'm not open to a partnership or to any emotional connection. And if that's something that you're looking for, then I think that we should just be friends. Be really open to letting that person go if they aren't looking for the same thing, and try not to change their mind, because that can be such a tricky thing when someone just wants to hook up and you're like, well, I'm going to change their mind because this hookup feels so good, and how could they not feel the way I feel? But oftentimes that doesn't happen. Communicate openly. This is just going to save so much hurt and pain, and it might feel vulnerable to do that and to even open up those conversations. But if you can't have that conversation with someone, then what's the point of them being in your life if you can't even tell them what you want or are looking for? Yeah, this is something that I do all the time now. Anytime I hook up with anyone, even just the first hookup, because I've been so scarred with this, I will let them know exactly what I'm capable of giving and receiving and what season of my life that I'm in. And then we can move forward in a way that's really mutually beneficial, even if it's casual. Also, you can continue stating your expectations throughout the partnership and just kind of asking, does this still feel good for you? Do you feel like your needs are being met? And if something comes up that doesn't feel good, speak it out right away. It'll get so much bigger in your mind and in your body and in your throat if you don't speak out those things that are really irking you, even if they're tiny. I hear this all the time from people that they're like, well, it's not really a big deal. It's just this little thing. But if something keeps resurfacing in your head over and over again, then it's not a little thing. It's obviously something that you can't let go of until you address it. Vocalize it, even if it's scary. Just close your eyes. Initially, the truth does hurt, but it is the most liberating thing, because then we can move forward in a more evolved way, in a way where we're both feeling good and inviting more goodness into our lives, rather than having this impending doom kind of looming over you because there's something that doesn't feel good that you're not communicating. And I have gotten better and better at speaking my boundaries throughout my life, because I feel the instant constriction in my body, in my throat chakra, when I don't share something that doesn't feel good, and it becomes like a physical pain in my throat, like an actual bubble. And I have felt the immense, almost like anger and dissonance and sadness that just continues to linger in me when I don't express a tiny boundary or something that didn't feel good. And so when I witness that or feel that come up in me, I will just say it immediately, like on command now, because I don't want to be carrying around any dense energetic weight, especially in a partnership. And that's how a resentment builds. So that's just a great thing. You know, I get DMs about this where people are telling me something that they should just be communicating with their partner. And it's okay to communicate those things. It's okay to have problems that you're working through. I think maybe we need like more relationship guidance in our education, but it's okay for things not to be perfect all the time and to be going through some rough patches and to share openly how you're feeling. And along with this goes not being emotionally reactive. This is the conduit to a safe, healthy relationship, when both people feel comfortable expressing their feelings and knowing that the other person isn't going to take it personally. And if you do take everything personally that anyone says, then it might be a sign that you're not ready to be in a partnership. Or if you're very sensitive and tend to take things really deeply to heart, at least be aware that you do that and vocalize that. And I'm just going to give you an example. When I started dating this guy who was very mature, very spiritually mature, and I was still in the depths of my depression and life-ending thoughts, I was in his office one day and I left a bunch of crumbs around the desk that I was working at, because I would sometimes work at his office with him. And he told me one day, like, hey, I noticed you leave crumbs lying around when you come over. Can you vacuum those like before you leave? And I was so sensitive at this point that I started crying. I felt so guilty. I felt like, fuck, you're right. Like, I don't deserve to take up space. What am I doing here? And I can't even, like, I don't resonate with that. I don't know her. That's just such a different lifetime for me. We spent at least 2 hours just talking things out, and me being like, I know that this is such a ridiculous reaction. I don't even know why I'm crying. I've just been so conditioned to feel small and like I don't deserve to be here. And it got really deep really quickly. It worked, and we worked through a lot of those really intense emotional waves of mine where I did internalize everything, because I was being aware of it and I felt comfortable to shift the narratives in my head, and I felt comfortable to be like, yeah, you know, this is really shitty that I'm responding this way, but I'm taking full accountability for it. This doesn't make sense that I'm responding this way, but I've experienced a lot of trauma and I can take accountability for the ways that I'm naturally programmed to respond at this point. And I think that's a really mature way to handle things. It's not like you have to be non-reactive in every single way, but just being aware when you are projecting something onto the situation, or at least being able to be accountable for those reactions that you have. This little thing is just going to make your relationship so much better. They can share whatever you're feeling, and that does not have to affect your internal state of being. It's not a personal attack. It's not all on you. Even if someone doesn't want to be with you at the end of the day, it's like, okay, like, you can't see the magic that I am right now, and that's fine, not having attachment to them. And I know this sounds like a really hard place to arrive, but I think that a way to get there is just feeling so full on your own and not having that intense codependency, and knowing in each moment that you are full and capable and beautiful, and we all have faults, and in partnerships those can come up, or, you know, they might not agree with little things that you do or little quirks that you have, but that doesn't mean that you're any less full. And I think knowing that and feeling that makes space for that emotional accountability, and just being like, hey, I hear you. I know that I'm imperfect in that way, and I'm working on it. I'll do the dishes more right after I eat. And yeah, I am a little messy. That's okay. I love that about myself, but I want to make you feel safe in my space, so I'm going to clean up more. And it's just helpful when you both are in this same place. And that to me has been the biggest shift of my toxic or immature relationships to the ones that I have now, where we can both share and nothing is personal, and we take accountability for ourselves, but we also listen to each other deeply and honor each other's feedback and feelings. You know, we really honor each other's feelings because we want the other person to be happy, no matter what that looks like in a way. I wanted to talk about cheating. I have a zero tolerance policy for sketchy behavior. My intuition is way too strong and powerful to put up with that. And I just know, like so many other people, you just get these gut feelings, and those are your guardian angels. And I think that the older I've gotten, the more strengthened my intuition has become, the more that I trust it. And I have had so many experiences where I was with a partner of mine and we ran into one of their old friends, and I would just immediately know that they shared a sexual connection. Like, it's an uncanny little ability of mine to know who has slept with who, particularly when I'm in love with the person and we're just running into like old friends. I just know if they've slept together or not. One of my exes actually was going to see an ex of his, and he didn't tell me he was going to see her. He was like, hey, I'm just gonna go meet up with a friend, we can have dinner later. And I knew he was going to see one of his exes. It was just like 100%, my whole gut and body was like, I think he's gonna see an ex-girlfriend of his. And I asked him later and he said that he did. And I was like, you can tell me that stuff. I don't take any shit anymore. And it's mainly because I took so much BS in the past, and I am really grateful for that really toxic relationship. They were sketchy, which made me insecure and made me be sketchy. Basically, they would always turn their phone away from me when they were using it. They would always have their phone on Do Not Disturb. I could never hold their phone when it was unlocked. They would never let me go through their camera roll or even take a photo and look at it because of what I might see. Just really big red flags. That's a red flag to me. If your partner doesn't feel comfortable unlocking their phone next to you, or if they're getting tons of Snapchats from random girls, if girls are DMing you saying that your partner is doing something sketchy, that's a red flag. And it can be so easy to listen to your partner because you're in love with them and to be blinded by that love. But just know that you're worthy of so much more. Like, the way that you feel in your partnership is not the way that you always have to feel. If something doesn't feel good, rather, you can shift it by ending the relationship, by not settling for anything like that again, by speaking your boundaries. And this is really important because if you let this behavior continue, then they will keep on treating you this way because they're still getting the girlfriend privileges while they're being sketchy and treating you horribly. So I really like this quote: when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Don't give them more and more chances to show you how much of a fuck boy or fuck girl they are, fuck person. Really, when you see those red flags, be like, oh no, this is what I mean by when I say I have a zero tolerance policy. It's like when I see that, I address it, I vocalize it, and I'm like, you have one more chance. I don't deal with drama in my life, and I'm not going to compromise that and my inner peace just for someone who doesn't respect me. And I highly recommend everyone implement a zero tolerance policy into their software. I feel like a lot of us, especially when we're in love, we see someone's potential more than who they actually are in the moment. And that can cause us to say, we see the potential of where our relationship could go. And that causes us to say, when in reality, what's present around us, the way that we're being treated is not right. Just not respectful, just not serving us, it's not nourishing. And so we have to kind of take a deep breath and be honest with ourselves sometimes and be like, okay, this is actually not what I want. It has potential, but I'm not being met right now, and take that L. But it's not really an L because there's always a miracle to be found in everything. A lot of people don't leave toxic partnerships because they don't think that they can get any better, and we do accept the love that we think that we deserve. Remind yourself of what you actually want and begin to affirm to yourself how worthy you are of that. Surround yourself with a loving community and maybe people who do have a positive relationship so that you can just see, wow, I can be treated like that. You know, that quote, if he wanted to, he would, is just so real. It's when you love someone unconditionally, you want to show them that you'll do anything to make them feel comfortable. And when I was in that toxic partnership where they were constantly talking to other girls and sexting other girls, and I would just always see their Snapchats pop up, and I asked them, can you just delete the app? Like, I know that people are sending you nudes all the time and that makes me uncomfortable, and they wouldn't do it. And it's like, that's such a easy little thing that if they actually cared about the relationship more than these random nudes, that they would have done it. And once again, no hate to this person because it was a literal high school relationship, but there are little things like that where if they really cared about you and cared about your partnership, then it would be not even a question or an argument or conversation for them to do something that would make you feel more comfortable, especially stop following a girl on social media or delete their ex off their Snapchat, whatever it may be. I don't think that's asking a lot at all. And in this current age of social media, it's so easy for people's eyes to constantly be wandering. And I think that those kind of boundaries are really valid and worthy of being received, because I think all of us have had little traumas where people have been being sketchy on social media, or someone sending your partner nudes just because they want validation. That was the case in my high school relationship. You know, it was so easy to just send nudes on Snapchat and be complimented and be worshipped. And especially with someone in a partnership, for some people that gave them even more gratification, and that is toxic, and I think just a reflection of their own insecurities. So I honestly send no hate to those people either. It's just like, okay, if you want to indulge that, then go ahead, but I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to have to navigate that with you, that need to receive nudes all the time from strangers. It's just an interesting thing. But I know that a lot of us have experienced that. When I was going through that, I felt crazy because I never had conclusive proof, or at least that's what I told myself, despite the fact that girls were always sliding into my DMs and they never showed me their phone. And even when I saw proof, I one time eventually got into their phone, which I don't even like the feeling of feeling like you have to hack into someone's phone. But when I got into their phone and saw all these photos of girls that we were friends with, girls that we hung out with, like my closest friends, and all of their nudes in his camera roll, that still wasn't enough. I kept going back to him because I felt emotionally addicted. And when I look back on that partnership, I'm like, I wish I left so much earlier. I wish I didn't need all of these red flags. I also think that it's valid for someone just to want to hook up. Like, it's valid for someone just to not want to be in a relationship and to just explore their sexuality. And that doesn't have to be demonized as long as it's expressed and vocalized. Just because someone just wants to sleep around doesn't make them a fuckboy. But if they're playing games and saying one thing and acting another, then that's the sketchy territory. But overall, now when I see someone is in a different season of their life and I can just tell that they just want to, you know, mess around and be free and not have any accountability, then I'm like, okay, I honor you. You do you. I'm just gonna be friends and stay in my own lane, kind of thing. That's just a really big, frequent DM that I get, is people like, should I stay with my partner even though they're doing this thing that makes me uncomfortable? If you've expressed it to them repeatedly and they don't change, then I say walk away and teach them that you're not putting up with that anymore. I wanted to quickly discuss struggling with mental illness in a relationship. This is another area where I feel like you really have to communicate what you need and what your partner is capable of giving. In my second partnership, the one where I felt life-ending thoughts after they told me to vacuum my crumbs, that was... this person held so much space for me through the depths of my life-ending thoughts and anxiety and depression, and I'm so grateful to them for that. But the whole time I was fully ready to let them go if they could not see me through that. And I think it can be really tricky when someone fully relies on you as their anchor and crutch through healing their depression. And I think that you, as the person who is sad, has to really be okay with them doing things for themselves and be okay with them not always being able to hold space and being your only person that you open up to and resort to, because that is a lot of time and emotional processing. And I don't think that it's fair to your partner to always expect that of them. And so if you know that you're struggling with intense mental illness of some sort, make sure that you have someone else to reach out to besides your partner, so that that doesn't become the core basis of your relationship. Whether that's a therapist, a friend, a sister, you know, make sure you have other people that are also helping to reflect back to you that light and love, and not just putting it all on the person that you love, because that can be emotionally draining to them. Or if they're comfortable holding that space for you, just always check in with them and be like, hey, I just want to cry, or I have this really big thing to unpack. Can you hold space for me? And this is something that people in my life and past partners have done for me. Like, hey, I just want to check in. I know you've been holding a lot of space for me. Is it okay if we talk when I get home? I just really need to be heard for like 3 hours. And it's so respectful to my spirit and my space. And it makes me so much more loving because I know that my energetic boundaries are being respected. And so you can definitely do this in a partnership. It can be really helpful every single morning to ask ask each other what you need. This is something that I've started adopting in all of my relationships. When you wake up or anytime that you hang out or you're in a new season of life, what can I do to support you through what you're going through? What are you cultivating this month? Is there any way that I can show up for you like I haven't before that would really help to support your mission this month? Do this with your friends and with your lovers. It's really lovely to know exactly what medicine they might need, whether that's more space or more conversation, and doing that self-work also to find what positive coping methods work for you and to find what triggers you, to communicate those things with your partner, to let them know what makes you extra sensitive so that they can also just understand your mental illness more. Your coping methods and triggers are also unique to you. Also, I think there's a big misconception that when you go into partnerships, you have to have all of your shit figured out. You have to fully love yourself and have everything in your life together, but that's not the case. And even if it is initially, everything is so ever changing in life that you will inevitably go through some hard times with your lover and your partner where you're learning to unconditionally love yourself or get aspects of your life together, and you don't always have to have it perfectly figured out. I think that being with a partner who really loves you and sees you is about holding their hand and holding each other's hands while you figure your stuff out on your own, while you do that healing work. They're not going to do it for you. They're not going to come in and heal everything. You have to do that on your own. But when you're in that process, it doesn't mean that you're not allowed to be in partnership. Just have them hold your hand and support you in any way that they can while you do that inner work. And you can do the same thing for them. Partners aren't meant to complete us and to make our lives whole in every single way, or to make all of our problems go away, or to fix all of our problems, but really just to support us, love us, and see us through that healing that we have to do on our own. And it's such a beautiful process and journey. And I genuinely feel like partnerships are really just there to help us step into the highest, fullest versions of ourselves and evolve in every way that we've ever dreamed of. And that support can come from a sovereign place with you and your partner both on that journey separately, but together in union, supporting each other's missions. And lastly, I just want to end this video off with the reminder that every relationship is a teacher and every person is God in disguise to find the miracle in the exchange. And a lot of times we're given the complete opposite of what we want so that we can become so clear on what we do want in a partnership. That's kind of how you learn what you want in life and what feels good, is through trial and error. And sometimes life can really show you some contrast, like can really give you the worst of the worst. And you're like, I never want that in a partnership again. I never want to be ignored. I never want to be gaslighted. I never want to put up with sketchy behavior. And it really helps you to formulate your own expectations and sense of self and desires moving forward. And I think that that is a really positive thing. So that's just a reminder that every experience, there is a message and a learning to be found. Everything is on purpose. And to also forgive yourself for the ways that you may not have chosen wisely or acted as wisely as you could because you were only acting out of your current state of consciousness. You made the best decision that you could at that time with your tools and level of awareness, so that couldn't possibly be wrong. And all you can do now in this moment is act from your current level of awareness and try to be honest and real with yourself and those around you. So those are just some of my relationship tips. It really just comes down to feeling so full and sovereign and equanimous within your own being. I definitely think it's just so important to have non-romantic affection and love and support. That's so healing. Essentially just a family of friends around you that has always gotten me through every hard time, and why I never yearn for romantic relationships, because I have so much love around me already. I have so much love to pour into people in my life and into myself, and it's really, really liberating. So I'm sending love to you in this moment wherever you are on your journey. And also, if you would like to try therapy, I just want to give another shout out to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. And if you use the first link in my description, you will get 10% off of your first month of betterhelp.com. But yeah, thank you so much for watching and for being here with me today and surviving every single one of your potentially toxic relationships. I'm really happy that you're still here and that you're better for it and stronger and more resilient at the end of the day. I feel like every single year as I get older, I learn more and more that I'm able to speak my boundaries and be heard, and that I'm able to experience love and joy, pleasure and rapture like I've never felt it before. I just feel more and more free the more that I learn, the more contrast that I experience. And through that liberation, I just feel more and more excited for those lessons to come up. In those moments of darkness and density, knowing that they are shaping me and forming me into a more untamed woman, I'm just so grateful, and I just bow down to all of it as if there's just a chrysalis of energy around me, and I'm just thanking all of it. Thank you so much for being here just as you are, and I'll see you in a video soon. Bye!